What if I told you a band got signed by a legendary record executive, had a member of Rat produce their album, and were poised for rock stardom, only to discover the new head of their label had absolutely no idea who they were? They had the songs, the sound, and the look, but they were constantly tripped up by backroom blunders and corporate incompetence. They sold hundreds of thousands of records, but they should have sold millions. Here's how the music industry failed Lillian Axe.
Like, subscribe. Thank you.
So you got this guy, Steve Blaze. It's the early 80s. Steve's in a New Orleans band called Oz. He's a guitar player, but he's got bigger ideas. The band is okay, but some of the guys are not fully committed. One singer has his own business, the drummer's flaky, and is driving Blaze nuts because he lives and breathes music. He knows he's got something, but he's stuck with a lineup that's holding them back. Eventually, he finds a dedicated singer named Johnny Vines and a solid drummer, Danny Kane. And along with his bassist, Michael Max Darby, they decide to form a new band. And this is for Halloween 1983. They need a name. One night, Blaze is driving home after watching the horror movie Creepshow. There was a scene in that, a skeleton in a tattered old wedding dress, just floating there. Sticks into his head, and he's thinking, what would you call a creepy old lady ghost like that? The name Lillian pops into his head. He's sitting at a red light, and it just clicks. Lillian Axe. Sounded eerie, memorable, and a little bit on the dangerous side. And just like that, Lillian Axe was born. For the next few years, they lived a life. They're on the road constantly, playing anywhere and everywhere. They work the southern club circuit, hitting the Midwest, even trekking up to New York. They're mostly a cover band at first, but they start sneaking in their own original stuff, and people are noticing. They're good. They're really friggin' good. On a random Tuesday night in the middle of nowhere, they can pull in 600 people. They build a reputation for their live show, a tight, powerful performance that starts getting them attention from bigger acts. And then comes the break. Around 1986, they land a few opening spots for a massive tour with Rat, Poison, and Queensryche. This is their shot. They're playing in front of huge crowds and, more importantly, in front of the right people. After one of the shows, a security guard comes up to Blaze, says, "Hey, Marshall Burrell wants to talk to you." Marshall Burrell was Rat's manager, the nephew of the famous comedian Milton Berle, and one of the biggest managers in rock music at the time. It was basically him and Doc McGee who handled Motley Crue and Bon Jovi. So Marshall gets straight to the point. He tells Blaze that Robin Crosby, the guitarist for Rat, loves the band and wants to produce the record. And then he asks the magic question, "Do you fancy having a record deal?" And Blaze, of course, is floored. Of course he does. This is the dream. Soon after, MCA Records, one of the biggest labels on the planet, sends a bunch of their top executives to see the band play in Dallas. And the label is run by Irving Azoff, a music industry titan. Irving loves what he sees, and just like that, Lillian Axe gets signed to a major label deal. Feels like everything's finally happening. They're getting limo rides to the studio, eating lobster, staying in nice hotels, and working with one of their heroes. Blaze later admitted that he was just thinking, this is freaking cool, instead of realizing he'd be paying for all of it one day. But at that moment, it was pure magic. There was just one problem, a huge one. The label execs loved Steve Blaze. They loved his songwriting, his guitar playing, and the fact that he owned the name Lillian Axe. But they weren't so sure about the rest of the band. Phone ring. It's the label. "Hey, Steve, we love what you do," they tell him. "Your songs are amazing, but we want to reform the band around you." It was a total gut punch. Blaze was in a terrible position. He knew some of the guys in the band were struggling with addiction issues and things were getting chaotic, and he really did actually feel like the band might not last much longer anyway. So he had to make a choice, stay with his friends and risk losing the deal, or move forward and chase that dream. So he chose choice B, move forward. The original singer and drummer, out. Blaze brought in a powerhouse vocalist named Ron Taylor and a new drummer. And with John Sturr on guitar and keyboards, Rob Stratton on bass, this became the classic Lillian Axe lineup that would record their debut album. The deal was done, but the foundation was already shaky. They had the big break, but it came at the cost of their original brotherhood. So they head in the studio with Robin Crosby to record their self-titled debut album released in 1988. The album turns out to be a melodic hard rock masterpiece, full of hooks, harmonies, Blaze's incredible guitar work. Should have been huge, but the problem started almost immediately. The man who signed them, Irving Azoff, left MCA Records right before the album came out. This is like having the head coach who drafted you get fired right before your first game. The new guy who took over as head of the label was a man named Al Teller, Lillian Axe was invited to a party to meet their new boss, the man who now controlled their destiny. And when they were introduced to him, Al Teller had no idea who the hell they were. He had no clue that they were one of his label's brand new signings. Alice Cooper, who was also on MCA at the time, told Blaze that after meeting Teller, the label said to him, "I hope I don't have to see you again." Now, if a legend like Alice Cooper was getting that kind of disrespect, what chance did a new band like Lillian Axe have? The label had no idea what to do with them. They set the band on a 2-month tour opening for Crocus, but they put out almost no promotional muscle behind the album. Before the tour was even over, the label was already demanding a follow-up. They hadn't even tried to sell the first record, and they were already pushing for the second. So this put the band into a complete creative pressure cooker. So they went back to the studio, recorded their second album, Love and War, in 1989. It was darker, heavier, much more mature, and many fans consider it their best work. But again, MCA barely promoted it. The band felt like they were being set up to fail. They're a rock band with a major label deal who were getting treated like an afterthought. Frustrated, seeing no future with the label, they parted ways with MCA. It was a huge blow, but they weren't ready to give up. They found a new home on a smaller label, Grand Slam, which was part of IRS Records. This time it felt different. The new label seemed to actually believe in them. They gave them less than half the recording budget MCA had, but they worked their asses off to promote the band. They sent Blaze and singer Ron Taylor on a 6-week press tour across the US and Europe to build hype for the next album. In 1992, Lillian Axe released Poetic Justice. This album was their biggest commercial success. It landed on the Billboard charts, and the lead single, a powerful ballad called True Believer, started getting significant radio airplay. It was happening. After all the false starts and disappointments, they finally had a real hit on their hands. The song was a bullet, climbing the rock charts. All it needed was one thing that was absolutely essential for a hit song in '92, a music video. MTV was king. A great video could turn a minor hit into a global smash. And the band's career could be made or broken in the 3-minute clip. So Lillian Axe waited for the call from the label to schedule that video shoot, and the call never came. For reasons that are still baffling, the label refused to make a video for True Believer. It was a colossal career-killing blunder. Without a video, the song's momentum stalled. It was getting played on the radio, but the massive TV audience of MTV never got to see it. Like building a rocket and refusing to light the fuse. The Blaze and the band were pissed and totally heartbroken. They're out on the road playing bizarre shows, opening for bands like Eddie Money and The Outfield one week and then Anthrax the next. The industry still didn't know where to put them. Grunge was, of course, starting to take over by this time, but Lillian Axe was having their biggest success in the middle of it. Blaze wondered how well Poetic Justice would have done had it been released in '87 at the height of the hair metal craze. So they released one more album, Psychoschizophrenia, in 1993. The musical landscape now was just totally changed. Party was over for bands that looked, sounded like they did. Unable to capitalize on the previous success and worn down by years of fighting for every little scrap of recognition, Lillian Axe broke up in '95. Ron Taylor went on to form another band, and their last drummer, Tommy Stewart, found massive success with the band Godsmack. It seemed like the story was over, but Steve Blaze, he never quit. In '99, the band reformed. They started releasing new music and touring again, albeit with a consistently shifting lineup. And with their multiple singers and rhythm sections over the years, in a moment of incredible validation, Lillian Axe became the first hard rock act inducted. Try that again. Lillian Axe became the first hard rock band. Jesus Christ. In a moment of incredible validation, Lillian Axe became the first hard rock act to be inducted into the Louisiana Music Hall of Fame in 2010, placing them alongside legends like Fats Domino, Jerry Lee Lewis. The perseverance was finally being recognized in their home state. But the road never got easier. In 2013, the band's van was involved in a serious car accident. Band members suffered injuries and their equipment was completely destroyed, but they recovered, got back on the road. It's one hell of a story with this band, because it's the story of incredible talent, but also a whole shitload of bad luck. They're a band with a major label deal whose boss didn't even know who the hell they were. They had a certified radio hit that never got a video. They're a band that should have been playing arenas, but were constantly fighting just to stay in the game. It's a classic case of an industry that wouldn't know a diamond if it was sitting right in front of them. Story of what could have been, what was, through sheer force of will. To my subscribers, thank you so much. Even sitting through my flubs, you frigging rock. If you haven't had a chance to subscribe yet, You get to hear more flubs. Hit that subscribe button. Also, hype this video. I appreciate it. And smack that like button like it owes you money. Join the family. I want to thank you so much for watching.